And welcome, Hoosier fans, to this week's Halloween edition of Assembly Call Radio, where each week we discuss the most intriguing topics in the world of Indiana basketball. This is our 145th edition of Assembly Call Radio, and it is our 539th episode overall of the Assembly Call, recorded on the evening of Thursday, October 31st, 2019. I am your host, Jim Hopper. And let's begin this edition of the Assembly Call how we begin every edition of the Assembly Call, and that is with our Hoosier Proud banner moment. Now, if you listen to the IU Gannon postgame show, you know that Armand Franklin was the banner moment recipient, and rightfully so. Armand had a terrific game, which was made all the more impressive given the context that it was his first game at Assembly Hall, and he had almost all of the ball handling duties on his shoulders due to the injuries that Devontae, Al, and Rob are dealing with. In fact, as of Monday, when Archie met with the media, Rob was not supposed to play in the Gannon game. But due to some combination of him feeling better than expected after Monday's practice and Al Durham's lack of availability, Archie and the medical staff earmarked 12 minutes for him to play against Gannon. The stated goal was to get Rob into some live competitive action to help him knock the rust off, since he hasn't practiced hardly at all in October, and to see how his body responded to it. Given the panic that ensued after Archie's ominous description of Rob's injury on Monday, it was encouraging to see that he is at least healthy enough to play in a game. That assuages some of the worst concerns that we all had. But anyone who watched him out there on the court Tuesday night knows that Rob wasn't Rob. He played like a guy who hasn't practiced much this month, tentative and out of sync. On one transition opportunity, he treated the ball like a hot potato, passing to Race Thompson rather than confidently leading the break himself. And in rhythm, Rob Finney would never have made such a decision. But there were a couple of moments when Rob did look like Rob, and they are this week's banner moment. At the 2:12 mark of the first half, Gannon took a 1-point lead at 29-28 as unease swept across Hoosier Nation. Indiana then went on a 9-0 run to end the half, with Rob notching the final 5 of those points to give Indiana a 37-29 lead and momentum that they would build on to begin the second half. The first bucket was an inside-out three-pointer off a pass from Trace Jackson Davis. Rob had missed his previous 3 shots, but true to his well-earned nickname and reputation, Big Shot Rob stepped up to drain the most important shot that he took. That three-pointer gave Indiana some breathing room and allowed everyone to exhale. He followed that up with 2 free throws in the final seconds. As I've said many times over the last couple of weeks, every optimistic outlook for this Indiana season begins with Rob Finney taking an important step forward as a sophomore. And to use Archie Miller's own term, it's concerning that Rob and Devontae have had to miss so much preseason practice time. But with the season set to begin next week, we can at least take solace in the fact that Rob was able to play on Tuesday, and that when big shot opportunities presented themselves, he was able to shake off the rust and take advantage. All right, now let me introduce my esteemed co-host for this week's show. Andy is off this week, probably now at home sorting through candy with his daughters after a night of trick-or-treating. I cannot confirm reports that Andy dressed up as Joe Lenardi again this year for Halloween, but that is what I'm assuming.
No.
All right, well, to my left...
He remembers the days when a movie cost $1. Heaven help you if you ever decide to pop your collar. Play hard, but remember, fake hustle is a crime. He's the coach and it's Tonsoni time.
Coach, it's Tonsoni time. What's on your mind?
It was great to be back in Assembly Hall last Tuesday for the exhibition, and we're just a few days away from the start of Indiana basketball regular season play, so it's quite an exciting time. The thing that I took away from this week was it looks like a basketball team again. I don't know how many wins it's going to be, and I'm not sure if where in the Big Ten Indiana will end up being, but looking at the team defense, looking at the offense, the ball was moving, multiple players are scoring, and I just think it's going to be, again, another step, and maybe it's wishful thinking for me, another step back towards what everyone always thinks of Indiana basketball is good offense and good defense and competitive year in and year out. And I think we're going to need to have some patience at times with obviously with these injuries and bigs guarding smalls and all of that stuff. That is legit concerns. But it was an enjoyable time, especially the second half, as we'll talk about the scrimmage here coming up. And I really think that things are moving in the right direction. We can discuss whether it's moving fast or slow or whatever, but it was a good start to this season against Gannon.
Coach, folks in the chat mob very disappointed that you're not in costume right now. I just want to say. But you do have your mask. But we did an audio check, and it didn't sound good.
It didn't sound good in the mask, and it's all about the quality of the show. And
always our first concern.
Yeah,
yes.
I went as coach, so I'm a coach.
Ryan apparently dressed up as Elliot from ET over here. So is that what you're going for? Okay, to my right, he is a senior writer for The Big Lead, the official shot doctor of the Assembly Call. And for Halloween, he decided to dress up as his favorite college basketball coaching legend.
A walking skeleton with a hairpiece.
He is Ryan Phillips. Ryan, what would you like to rant about this week?
I want to make it clear I was going to dress up as Jerod, but he threw me off by shaving his beard. So at last minute, somebody changes the costume money. By the way, I do think next year that you, Andy, and I should dress up as each other, because we've known each other for so long. I think, and Coach can dress up as one of us as well, but we should all dress up, like pick one for each and dress up as each other. I think that'd be great. Okay. This isn't scary enough for you guys. Is that not, is it? Anyway,
hang out there.
Yeah. Right. So anyway, it was nice to actually have something to discuss other than rumors and things coming out about the team. Nice look there, Coach. So we had an actual game. It was an exhibition, so it's essentially a glorified scrimmage with lineups we're probably never going to see again, and a couple guys injured and things like that. So first half was a little rocky as we saw, but I feel like this team sort of developed an identity that's going to play from inside out. I mean, we begged for size for years from this Indiana team, really wanted to see it and see a group that can really go at it on the glass and score easy buckets inside. And you're going to get that this year. I mean, that's what this team's identity is going to be. You look at the line changes they can make in the post, and this is going to be a team that's going to win down low. And it's going to win in the paint. And I think that, we begged for 3-point shooting in the offseason as well, but this team's going to get a lot of open looks because defenses are going to collapse on it because of the size it has. So you're going to have guys who are going to get wide open looks, and they just have to knock them down. And unfortunately, we didn't get to see a couple of guys who I think we're going to depend on knocking them down a lot play, which is Devontae Green and Al Durham. Also, we saw Rob Finney. It's clearly not a full speed Rob Finney, but he's going to be another guy. It's going to have to knock shots down. And so Jerome Hunter played as well, which was nice to see, but he's going to have to knock shots down better than he did. He went 0 for 4 from deep. So, these guys are going to get open looks because guys like Race Thompson, Trace Jackson Davis, Joey Brunk, Deron Davis, I mean, all of those guys are going to be able to score it on the interior, going to be able to control the interior on offense. And it's going to really be on those guys to knock down some threes, spread the floor, and make that their jobs easier on the interior. But, I mean, we saw that. I thought that was the most clear thing we saw, is that this team is going to run line changes out there, big guys who could score and really control the block on offense. And it's going to be on those guards to start knocking down some shots.
All right, this week we will get Coach's reaction to the scrimmage. He wasn't on the post-game show, so we'll get his thoughts. He was live in the arena. We'll also answer a few questions that you sent in about the scrimmage. And then with this being the final show before the season begins next week, we are going to go on the record with some predictions, and then we will answer your questions. A whole lot of fun ones sent in, so we may have to spill over into some AC After Dark to answer some of those questions. But all of that coming this week on Assembly Call Radio. Before we get to that, let's talk about tickets. You have a lot of options when it comes to where you get your sports tickets, and this isn't an industry that is known for its growth, innovation, and customer friendliness. But with millions of live event tickets and a price match guarantee, SeatGeek proves that there's a better way. They built the fastest way to find tickets so that you can stop searching for the perfect seat and instead start enjoying it. Just look at the App Store. SeatGeek has over 50,000 five-star reviews, and the reason is because they deliver a better process for buying tickets. SeatGeek pulls together millions of tickets from all over the web, and then they rate each deal on a scale of 1 to 10 with a color-coded system to show the value. Green dots mean good deals, red dots are overpriced. Then they display the tickets on an interactive seat map so you can see right where they are. And every purchase is fully guaranteed, so you can shop for tickets with confidence. I have the SeatGeek app on my phone because it is by far the fastest and easiest way to find tickets. We bought tickets to the Zach Brown concert that we went to last week, which ended up being a lot of fun. We did leave at the intermission, but my daughter had a wonderful time. We brought our 3-year-old daughter. We figured we would get diminishing returns if we stayed there longer, so we left at the intermission, but it was great. So thanks to everybody who chimed in on whether or not that was a good idea. Appreciate it. And
Can a brother get some coupons?
of course you can get some coupons. And you should use these coupons to get tickets to the IU Northwestern game on Saturday. If you can get there, be there. And SeatGeek will give you $10 off your first SeatGeek purchase. All you need to do is use our promo code. Download the SeatGeek app today and use the promo code ASSEMBLY for $10 off your first purchase. That's promo code ASSEMBLY for $10 off your first purchase. Okay, gents, let's talk Hoosier headlines. Real quick before we get to the scrimmage, some news did break today. Derek Elston leaving the Indiana basketball program. This was kind of expected for a little while. He's taken a job in Indianapolis. And I think it's, by all accounts, just something that fits kind of where he's at in life, kind of where his family is, not anything about discontent with the program, anything like that. So I don't think it's anything to be concerned about, except for the fact that Derek really seemed to have a positive impact, as the director of player development, as a guy that players really trusted and leaned on. So, Coach, any thoughts on Derek leaving the program?
It's always tough when one of your own decides to go and do something else, but Derek gave a lot to the program in coming back and filling a very key role for several years. And so there's nothing but, joy if he's making a move that is good for him and his family, which I think this is. I think that's something to be applauded. And we look forward to whenever Indiana can replace him that, we'll find out who would fit into that role. Right now, I think they said they're going to split up all those duties that he had amongst the current staff. But we wish Derek. Derek's a great guy. I coached against him for years, 2 or 3 years when he was at Tipton. Never enjoyed that, other than he'd always stop by and say hello at the coach's office out of the locker room before pregame. Just a quality person through and through.
Yeah, he's going to be working with United Fidelity Bank in Carmel as their community development officer. So congratulations to him. We wish him the best, and obviously we hope that Archie's able to find someone good to step in and fill those shoes. So let's reflect a little bit more on Indiana beating Gannon on Tuesday. Ryan, you talked about it some with what we saw from the big guys and just kind of how that game went. Coach, you were there. And by the way, if you're listening on the radio and this is your first time joining us, we do a post-game show after every single game. Immediately following the game, go to assemblycall.com. You will find us, subscribe to us on YouTube. We're there live as soon as the game ends. You weren't able to be there with us, Coach, because you were in the arena. You sent us some text messages, very excited about the pregame warm-ups, which apparently were a lot better this year. So give us, kind of the short version, your overall impressions from being there inside Assembly Hall.
Well, the warm-ups are always something for me that are very important. I think if you warm up well and with a purpose, then you're likely to play better. And I thought there were some individuals last year that didn't do that in the times that I was there. Saw something totally different, led by Coach Roberts out there, making sure people were doing things right, doing things at a good pace. So that kind of got the night off to a really good start.
Got a man crush developing.
I have a mad
Absolutely.
crush on Coach Roberts.
So you could hear him when we were in row 32. You could hear him all the way up there, and that was a good start. And then I thought the first half was just, shaking some rust off offensively. Ryan talked about Jerome Hunter. He had open shots. He just hesitated, like he wasn't sure if this was the shot he should take. If he shoots it right when he catches and gets in a rhythm, I think those are eventually going to go down once he gets used to playing and doing those things. I said in the clip in the community about his defense, his technique is just struggling right now. It's not his effort. And when he gets back in shape. So I took that away. I thought the second half was really enjoyable from an offensive and defensive standpoint from the play, but it's also good to see coaches going in, recognizing what needs to be done, players listening and making those adjustments, even in an exhibition against the opponent. You got to take that for what it is, but you can get some things out of it. And I think overall, some guys are looking good. Armand Franklin is really going to push for a more of an extended role than a lot of people thought at the beginning of the season. And in person, he looks really, really sharp for a rookie.
Okay, we got a couple of questions. Ryan, I'll go to you with this first one from JD. What takeaway from Tuesday's exhibition game will be most or least relevant come February of this season?
Well, I think most is the size. I mean, Indiana's huge. It's a big team. Even on the wing, they're big. Justin Smith, Demezy Anderson, Jerome Hunter. These are all big guys with, usable length as defenders and rebounders. I think that, we knew their heights and we knew their size, but seeing it on the floor, that's a lot of big guys. I mean, it is. This is a big team. And so I think that's what stood out to me the most is, there's that many guys who can play those positions, who have size and length. Then seeing them on the floor together, I think was really interesting. I think maybe the least, I don't know what the least was. Maybe just Armand Franklin playing that much. I don't think there's going to be a game this year unless there's injuries where Armand Franklin's going to play 34 minutes and have to handle the ball as much as he did. So, I mean, while I think that was a positive that to see that he's mature enough to handle that, and that'd be great if there is an injury at some point in the season, he has to step in. You feel a little better about it. I don't think that that's something that we need to, think about, oh, that's so great. It's like, well, it was a lesser opponent who's not going to be able to guard him on the ball as well, and he pretty much ran freely through the defense for most of the night. But I don't think we're going to have to rely on that as we move forward.
The thing that I'm not sure whether it's going to be most or least relevant in terms of takeaways is how confident Justin Smith looked handling the ball. I thought, like, dribbling the ball, he just looked more confident. Passing the ball, I think he had 3 assists, no turnovers again. And, what I don't know is when the competition ratchets up, will he be that comfortable and will he be that competent as a ball handler? If he is, that is going to be huge because it will add a new dimension and will give him an opportunity to actually play at the 3, succeed at the 3, and give us, a chance to play some of those bigger lineups. I don't know. I just know that, for a guy that we've heard really worked on that in the offseason, it was nice in the first game out.
It looked smooth.
It looked better. I mean, he just looked more confident when he was dribbling the ball and with the movements that he was making. And by all accounts, he feels a lot more comfortable, with the way that he's being used and with the offense. So that could be a good sign. We won't know until we get there. And I don't know yet how to predict it because the competition just doesn't give us a good enough gauge.
Right. And we talked about it in the postgame. I said it's not about him being able to do it. It's about him knowing he's able to do it because he's got the physical ability to do that. I mean, there was one breakaway where he just dribbled in, cut across the defender's face and laid it in. And it was just like, dude, you can do that every time down the floor because of your physical ability. And you just have to mentally believe you can. And once he gets past that, that's what we've all been waiting for with Justin, is to quit the inconsistency and just believe he can do things like that. Because the athleticism and the skill is there. It's been there since he stepped on campus.
With Justin, the interesting thing is, where's he getting his points? A lot of them were on the break. A lot of them were around the rim. That's more like a 4 or at least the transition. Can he play that 3 and come off screens and come off ball screens with that ball handle? Can he score in a set offense? But the good point, too, from him on Tuesday was he really didn't force things. He wasn't taking bad shots. He wasn't really making bad decisions at a new position with the ball, facing up a little bit more than what he had in the past. So I think that's a very good start. But again, you got to see him grow into that position if he's going to play the 3. And we just don't know until you get all the guards back what the combinations are going to really be.
Yeah. One more question from Patrick, Coach. He said it would seem, with the guards out, Demezi, Jerome, and Justin were asked to guard positions they normally would not. And while it was a Division II opponent, might provide a chance to kind of see them against some faster players. How did I think we all mentioned that Demezi looked a little slow in the first half and picked it up in the second half. Overall, how did you think that those 3 guys did when they were guarding out on the perimeter?
I thought they struggled, but I think that's to be expected when you first get into game action against smaller players. And in Jerome's case, the first time, Jerome, it was technique, not his effort. He was too open on his stance, which allowed too direct a drive for a quick guard. If he squares that up a little bit, he'll be fine. Demezi has a recognition issue. It got better in the second half with a little more intensity. And I thought Justin only made a couple mistakes. I thought Justin was okay, but those guys, it's harder to guard out in the perimeter. And we have to be somewhat patient. But yeah, those 3 guarding the 3 spot is going to be something to watch. And right now I think it's below average, but I think that's to be expected. So that's not a negative. That's just an honest evaluation. They got to get a lot better, but I believe they can probably do it over time.
And how great was it the one time Justin got blown by and Trace Jackson Davis was there to erase the shot? I think we're gonna see some of that this year. That guy has got some defensive ability as a shot blocker. All right, coming up, it is time to go on the record with some predictions. Now that the season is mere days away from beginning, one of our listeners took the time to put together a list of interesting over/unders. We will give our picks for those next. Stick with us here on the Assembly Call. All right. Happy Halloween to everybody watching live.
Yeah, nice and snowy and Halloween in Indiana Day, huh?
Man, it was awful.
Man, did you get many kids at the door?
Not
Are they
where we
doing?
live.
No, I think a lot of cities are switching it to Saturday. I think.
Yeah, there were a lot of people who canceled, but it was in your face, blowing snow and sleet.
Oh man.
I got home and we were supposed to go out and get the tailgate stuff, and we said nope tomorrow.
Yeah.
I just wanted to stay in.
Yeah. How excited are you for Saturday?
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's just
Kickoff at 7?
Yeah, at 7. Yeah. In 2007, Indiana had 6 wins before their last game, but they weren't going to go to a bowl unless they beat Purdue. I don't know if it was less bowls or the Big Ten agreement. So this is the first time where you're pretty sure they're going to go to a bowl game, and you got 2 games yet to tailgate. I think it's going to be a long tailgate, and a lot of people are going to be happy, and hopefully the gumbo we make tomorrow works out so keep us warm. And
what time are you going to get there?
I'm going to about 10:30. I'll get there, and the lots open up at 11, so we'll probably be set up by 11:30, have the fire pit going by noon, and the gumbo stewing, and on a bar stool in 35-degree weather.
What's the weather supposed to be like?
Anywhere from 35 to 43, 44, sunny. I mean, no rain or.
Oh, good.
So yeah,
I've definitely had worse at an Indiana game.
Yeah.
Than that. Remember one time we played Illinois my first year there, and it was parents' weekend. So my parents came out, and I don't know what the lower section bleachers are like these days, because I haven't been to a game in forever. But it was those old metal benches, and it was 6 degrees outside. My parents were like, "We're leaving at halftime," and it's just like that cold that goes through your entire body.
Yeah. San Diego doesn't really prepare you for that.
Yeah, not really. No,
it does not. It does not. All right.
Well, negative in this state is fires. That's the only negative in this state. I don't even care about earthquakes.
Yeah. Jay said he's going to bring some of his famous chicken and noodles in exchange for your gumbo, Coach.
That's a deal.
Okay.
We're going to have actually 2 types of gumbo. We're going to make up a couple big pots, and Joel Wonder's going to make up some, and he's smoking a brisket and some other meats of choice, and he's going to, that dude can cook.
This is going to be a good tailgate.
He can take pictures, and he can cook. I mean,
we should post. Do we post them all on the things from the tailgate on the Assembly Call Twitter? We should. No, I'm saying
we do every Saturday.
No, I've seen a couple, but I was making sure we do it throughout the day. We post like every food that he cooks and all that. Okay, good.
Yeah, we do.
I've seen the tailgating setup. I'm verified stuff from that.
I wish Andy was here for a very snarky comment.
No, but sadly I'm verified, and not everything shows up in my feed. It gets imbalanced weirdly.
Oh, because he's verified.
It is. I don't know what's happened. Like my girlfriend tweets stuff and I don't even see it all day. That's
because she mutes you.
I mean, that happened a long time ago.
All right, so let's roll through these. Did you guys have a chance to look at these over-unders? I didn't.
Yeah, I got all my responses ready to roll.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't really. I'll just be answering them on the fly. Does anybody want to write down what we answer? Oh, and I guess Jay said that we should wager something. Do we want to place a wager on these? Like who does the best by the end of the season, and then we'll return to this?
Yeah, if Ryan doesn't win, he has to host.
I don't have a computer that can host. That's the problem.
Yeah, that would hurt the audience though. Yeah, we don't want to punish the audience if Ryan.
Jerod was like, "Oh, aren't you buying a Mac?" I've never suggested once that I'm buying a Mac. Like, where did you get that? That was.
Jay, thanks, Jay Horry. Loser shaves his head.
No, I will not agree to that.
I'm down for that.
Yeah,
that's the way.
Not getting rid of this. And who knows if it'll grow back?
We got to think of something. Okay,
we'll think of something, but we can
we'll think of something, and we got to get Andy's answers too. So we'll get his answers, and we'll think of something. Right. Okay, let's just dive into this. That first segment was like 20 minutes, so we'll try and keep this to about 22 minutes. Then we'll have some time for questions. Brian said loser pays for the pizza that Chad is going to send to Andy during the show. He's trying to make that happen. Okay. Here we go.
This is Verdell Jones. What's better than an epic buzzer beater? The full court dribble and a perfectly placed pass to set it all up. And, of course, celebrating with Hoosier Nation afterwards. So join Jerod, Andy, Ryan, and Coach on the assembly call after every IU basketball game. Go Hoosiers.
Thank you, Verdell. Welcome back to the Assembly Call. You can find all of our content at our website, assemblycall.com. And if you ever want to join the chat mob during our unedited live broadcasts or watch those replays and see all the between segment banner, then check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/assemblycall. I'm Jerod Morris. I'm here with Ryan Phillips and the coach, Brian Tonsoni. And it is now time for this week's edition of Mediocre Questions from Jay Horry, which is brought to you by Light Beer, pretty much any national pizza chain, and Jay Cutler's 51-51 career record with the Chicago Bears, perhaps the most mediocre 102-game tenure any quarterback has ever had with one team. Ryan, you look quizzical.
Oh, I'm agreeing with you. I'm just trying to think if I can think of a worse one. It's definitely mediocre. It's not the worst. Yeah, it's right in the middle.
But yes, it's mediocre.
Very mediocre.
That's what we do here. Jay loves to send in mediocre questions, and we love to give answers to them. So this is actually
I
really
just got the joke.
Yeah. Oh. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
All three lines of it. I got the Jay Cutler thing, but I didn't see the first part, and now I get it.
Okay.
Any
good.
national pizza chain, yeah, Light Beer, got it. All mediocre.
Okay, good. Okay,
Yeah.
now that we're all on the same page here.
Mhm.
So what Jay said is, since this is the last Assembly Call Radio before the season officially tips off, let's get some predictions on the record. He said, I think we need some sort of bet between the hosts on who gets the most correct. He's right. And we're going to do a bet. If you have ideas for what the bet should be, you can tweet us at Assembly Call. We will come up with something, but we're going to get these on the record first. So let's do this. Okay, so we've got a bunch of over-unders.
So
okay?
it's who gets the most wrong is the loser, we're saying.
Yes.
Yeah, or
Okay.
the lowest correct score.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. 1
Yes.
point for
Okay.
each.
Who's going to mark these down? Do we have someone in the chat mob want to mark these down? Or I guess we'll mark
Do it on our little
Okay, we'll mark our answers here. Okay, so first one. Last season, Indiana shot 31.2% from three-point range. This season, better or worse? Coach, what do you think?
I'm saying better.
Okay, I'm on record with this all
Same.
offseason saying better. So
It couldn't possibly get worse.
yeah, okay. So Jay kind of started us off easy there. I think we all, and I hope everybody listening agrees with that. Okay,
You
last
guys can
season.
play along at home as well.
Yes, you can.
Beat the experts.
Yeah. Last season, Indiana shot 65.5% from the free throw line. This season, will Indiana shoot better or worse? Coach, better or worse than 65.5%?
They're going to shoot better than 65. That might be a wish, but I think they're going to do it.
Mark me down.
65.5% sucks. God.
Yeah, mark me. Yeah, these
That's
have
so
not been
bad.
hard so far. Mark me as
No.
better. They can't get worse.
I also just don't want to fathom a reality where we shoot worse.
That's
than
part
either
of it.
those.
That's
God.
part of, I'm thinking I don't want to do a show after if they're shooting that. Yes, I think better as well.
No, and man, that's the thing with this season too. Like every free throw is like a referendum on how this team has like practiced their free throws, and if we ever miss like 3 or 4 in a row, everybody's just going to go nuts. So let's get
The next. This is where it gets interesting. This next one.
This one does get interesting. Okay, so last season Indiana's turnover rate was 17.9%. This season, higher or lower?
Where did that rank around? Do you know?
I think we were like middle of the pack last year,
Okay.
if I remember correctly. Coach, what do you think on this turnover rate of 17.9%?
I'm going to say higher and just slightly higher because you're going to have some people, if they go big lineup, handling the ball that's not used to it, and that may skew things earlier in the season. And you still have Devontae, who's going to have a turnover or two every once in a while he's scoring his 20 points a game. So, no, I think it's going to be a little bit higher, but not crazy higher and not enough to hurt the team.
Yeah, I really want to say lower because I think it's so important for this team to limit turnovers and get offensive rebounds. But I have a hard time seeing it for a lot of the same reasons you said. And, we're, one sprained ankle away of a guard, of having a really thin guard rotation. Then you got other guys handling the ball. So I agree. I just think you're going to have some inexperienced, bigger guys handling the ball more. If they can get it under that, man, it's going to be a good sign. But I also think it'll be slightly higher this year.
Yeah, I think
Right.
we're going to be roughly the same, but I think it's going to be slightly higher just because of the same reasons that Coach did. You've got big guys handling the ball more. You've got Devontae Green. That said, Rob Finney is really good at not turning the ball over, and he's going to be the point guard if he's healthy. So, but I think that's going to balance out. I think they're going to wind up roughly about the same, but higher.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
last year turnovers didn't wind up being that big a problem. They felt in the moment like they were a big problem, but they really weren't. The problem was not taking advantage of your offensive possessions more than it was turnovers, purely.
Yeah, like it was one of those things. It was like it depended on the game. Like they were a huge problem against Arkansas because you save a couple of those possessions, you probably win that game. But overall for the season, they were okay with it. All right, adjusted tempo last year was 215th fastest in the country. This season, do you think Indiana will play faster or slower? Ryan, why don't you go first?
I'll go faster.
You think they're going to play faster?
I don't think it'll be by a lot, but I think they'll play faster. Yeah.
Interesting. See, I think the other thing is,
I think that basketball is getting faster, and I think they will play faster than they did last year. I think this team is set up.
I'll jump in and I say faster because I think what Ryan said is exactly right. That ball's popping, and Archie's constantly asking for them to get going early into offense. And if you look at that first 4 minutes of the scrimmage, isn't it taking it down the floor? And I think that's just going to push us higher than what we did in the past.
I think they're going to score a lot of quick buckets in the paint too. So I think that's going to speed them up. Like getting it up the floor, getting it to a guy who's in good post position.
Ideally, I think we will play faster. I do think Archie wants to play faster, but my gut reaction on this is that we're going to play a little bit slower because of how much we want to get the ball inside and because of how long some of those actions can take, how much inside out we're going to do. Now, obviously, if we can get out and transition more, those possessions are going to be a little bit faster. But with as much as we want to play inside, and especially like early in the season as we develop chemistry, I just think we're going to have kind of some long stunted possessions. So
we finally not agreed on everything.
Yeah, so I kind of, my gut feeling here is that we're going to play a little bit slower. It's not necessarily bad. I mean, Virginia for years has played like the slowest pace ever. So it's not necessarily a value judgment, but I just think it'll take us a little bit longer to get into some of these actions that we want to get into and to get the ball inside, get it outside. So I'm going a little bit slower.
First disagreement.
I can go first on the next one. I feel like bad coach go almost every time first. So
okay, effective field goal percentage. Last year, Indiana was 51%, which was 167th or 162nd in the country. So a little slightly better than average. This season, better or worse than 51%?
Better. I'm saying the 3-point percentage is going to be up, and I think we're going to be scoring a lot at the rim with the inside presence. So I'm going to say better. If those things are true, you're going to have a higher effective field goal percentage.
Yeah, I think just personnel and style of play will lead to better.
Yeah, I think so too, because I do think the 3-point percentage will be better. I don't know if our 2-point percentage will be quite as good as it was last year because Romeo and Juwan were so good, but it's still going to be good. I mean, Duran and Joey Brunk are elite offensive players in terms of efficiency, and so,
I think
those guys,
Davis is going to be too.
And Justin is too when it comes to field goal percentage, So I agree. I think something would have to go really wrong if our effective field goal percentage isn't better.
And I mean, just by the 3-point shooting alone, the 3-point shooting goes up a couple notches. It kicks your effective field goal percentage way up because of the value of the three.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Last season, Indiana's adjusted defensive efficiency was 32nd in the country. This season, better or worse? Coach, what if you take this one first?
Okay, Coach is going.
I'm going to say better just because it's the third year of the defense and the size will create, just like you said, TJD swatting things when there are mistakes. I think that's going to increase, and I think we have a chance to be top 20.
I agree. We've talked about the third-year jump in the pack line, all of that stuff. The one thing that gives me pause, and it's absolutely just prisoner of the moment recency bias, is to me where I've had confidence with our defense all offseason is that I feel like our guard defense is going to drive it. And I feel like we're going to have some of the best guard defense in the country, but we got to get these guys healthy. Yep. And so if those guys aren't healthy, then I think the defense could be around the same or a little bit worse. I think they're that important. But if they're all good to go, then I think we could be a top 20 defense. So I'm going to predict better, but I'm a little wary about it just based on what we've seen the last few days with injuries and stuff.
I'm saying better. I think it's going to be a top 16 adjusted defensive efficiency because that you look at that size, as you guys have talked about, that weak side defense coming over to help on the inside with Trace Jackson Davis. I think even with Race Thompson can get up there and get in the mix. And I also think these guys are going to have a competition amongst themselves. Who's going to block more shots? Who's going to be more physical defensively? Those guys are all going to push each other on the inside. You're not going to see guys coasting to the rim for layups as much this year. We might give up 3-pointers, but we're not going to give up easy layups this year, I don't think, once this team is used to playing with each other.
Yep. Okay, this is a really interesting one. Last season, 9.7 offensive rebounds per game. This season, higher or lower?
Where did that rank? Do you know?
I don't know where that number ranked. We can certainly go look and see where our offensive rebounding percentage ranked. I'll open up Ken Palm while you guys talk about this. Ryan, why don't you go first?
I think more just because of the size. The last year they were wildly undersized. I think you're just going to get more. It's hard to get any offensive rebounds in the Big Ten. It just is in general because of the size and the discipline of the interior players in this conference. I'm going to say more just because there's going to be more active size playing, and that eventually leads to better rebounds. Now they've got to be disciplined. They've got to attack the glass and all that. But I think they're gonna raise that number.
Last year, we were 187th in the country with an offensive rebounding percentage of 28%. Juwan was the best. He had an offensive rebounding percentage of 9.9%. So you got to replace that. Coach, what do you think?
I think it's going to be higher, and that's going to be something that maybe gets better as the season goes on, as players understand how to be aggressively pursuing the ball without going over the back, without doing certain things. The athleticism that we have with Race and TJD, and then Davis can get some, and Brunk is just a fighter. I think you're going to fall into at least double digits.
Something to remember here: the number of offensive rebounds goes down the more shots you make. It can, but I'm going to say it's going to go up.
Yeah, and Brunk has been a good offensive rebounder. He's had good offensive rebounding percentages. Look, I think this has to be better because, again, I think getting offensive rebounds, limiting turnovers is going to be really big for a team that isn't going to be high volume from three and doesn't have great isolation scoring. You need that shot volume. So I'm going to say better, but I don't think this is a given. I think Juwan was a really good offensive rebounder. Romeo got his fair share of offensive rebounds in there too. So I think some things need to happen, and I think as Race Thompson plays more minutes, that'll go up. And I think Justin Smith is the key here. I don't see any reason why Justin Smith isn't a 10% offensive rebounding percentage guy. Can't go in there and get 2 or 3 a game like he did. He did not rebound well overall against Gannon, but he got 2 and he finished. And he is 95th, 96th percentile as a guy turning offensive rebounds into points. That's got to happen. And so I think if Indiana is going to be good and make the tournament, this number will be higher.
You talk about a defensive struggle with the bigs, Hunter and Smith guarding the threes, and offensive rebounding advantage with those guys being able to go in and get some rebounds over, other players if they're, playing that 3 spot, if that's the way Archie goes.
Yep. All right. Next up, Devontae Green averaged 15.5 points per game. That's the over-under, 15.5 points per game. He averaged 9.4 per game last season. As the president of the Devontae Green fan club, I'm actually going to go under on this. I don't think we're going to have anybody who's going to average 15 points. I think Devontae is going to have a great season. I think he's going to have some games where he probably pops for 24, 25, 26 points. But he'll also have probably some games where he scores 6, 7, 8 when the shots just aren't falling. So there's other people to absorb scoring too. Yeah, there are. Well, we certainly hope so. So I think
if he's scoring 15.5 points per game, this team's probably in trouble. I mean, the other guys should be contributing a lot. So, I mean, that was what we said that was going to make this team better than last year. A year ago was the balance in scoring, the balance in the attack. So I'm going to go under as well.
Yeah, and look, I think there are going to be no, not at all. I think there are probably going to be 6, 7, or 8 games this year where he has to score 20 plus for us to win, because some other things just aren't happening. But I think there's going to be other matchups where we're dominating down low, where the best thing for him to do is get the ball inside, get it to other guys, and maybe he scores 8 to 10. And I think a big reason why I'm so confident is I feel like he'll be better at picking those spots this year. At least that's the hope, and I think that would be in Indiana's best interest. So I'm going under, but it's not because I don't believe in his scoring ability. Same thing as you said, Ryan.
I'm going to go under, and the thing, too, is sometimes you don't have to score points for your team. Just by the spacing and having to pay attention to him can open up other scorers. And that's what you take from the Marquette scrimmage and the Gannon game, is that a lot of people are able to make some shots and score, and different people at different nights is going to be a big thing. And if you have to guard the number one player, 13, 14 points a game, if he gets to that, is enough to help Indiana score in other ways. So I think he's going to be under.
All right, next up, Al Durham. Last season shot 34.8% from three. This season, will he be better or worse? Coach, why don't you go first on this one?
Better. I like this shot in the times that I've seen him so far. There's a lot more elevation. There's a lot more arch on it. I think his follow through is nice. I think the ball, I always like to see shooters, how soft the ball lands around the rim. And I think that what I've seen, his shot looks a lot softer. So he's going to have increased opportunities, which could lower that a little bit and still be effective at 34 or 33 and a half. But I do think he's going to be over that.
I'm going to go under. I think the volume will be up, but I think there may be a dip in percentage. Let's remember the line is going back a little bit, which tends to, drop percentages just a little bit. And the other thing with Al is I think we're going to see more of him going to the basket this year. And he has been a guy who has been nicked up, had some hand injuries, had some wrist injuries. And I think last year he would have shot a lot better if he didn't get injured in the Michigan State game, and that hurt him for 4, 5, 6 games. And if he's driving to the basket more, absorbing more contact, there's a higher likelihood of that. So to me, there's a few factors that kind of point a little bit of a red flag. I still think he'll be a better shooter overall because he'll produce more. But I think the efficiency in terms of 3-point percentage will actually probably, I would bet it goes down a little bit, but I don't think it'll be too much.
Well, I don't want to upset our dedicated listener and buddy Joel, so I'm going to say over. He's the president of the Al Durham fan club, so I'm going over.
Long-time president of the Al Durham fan club.
I'm going over just for Joel.
Okay.
But no, I think Al is going to get a lot of opportunities to catch and shoot this year, and I think that's when he was at his best last year. So, and also on the break, stepping into shots, he looked really good a few times last year. Michigan State, Wisconsin game, I think it was. He looked really good on the break, just stepping right into a shot. So I think that it's going to go up. You're right. The line going back is the calculus we don't know about. But it's not like they sprung this on these guys. The line's been moved back for months now. They've been able to practice that. So I'm going to go.
He also hasn't been a guy like Devontae that typically takes shots 2-3 feet behind the line either. So right. I think it could potentially affect him.
And that's more. A completely fair assessment. I'm going to say it's probably going to end up roughly about the same, but a little above. I'm like 35.5 or something like that. I'm not saying he's going to make a huge jump.
You also need to fully disclose the fact that your girlfriend is a huge Al Durham fan, and that could be influencing.
It might be
some of your thoughts on
in the other room right now watching this. So.
Okay, Trace Jackson Davis, 6.5 rebounds per game, over or under? Ryan, why don't you go first?
No, not way under. I'm gonna say under. I just think the rebound is going to be spread around on this team. I don't. It's not a knock on Trace. Maybe as a sophomore he's up there, but I think that it's going to be spread around on this team, the rebounding.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm gonna go under.
Okay,
because the minutes too, they're going to have a rotation of minutes.
So much competition for big guy minutes on this team.
Yeah. So I think
I thought I was going to be the outlier. I thought I was going to be the outlier going under here, but I agree.
That's a lot of rebounds as an average.
Yeah. It is a lot of rebounds.
For freshmen especially.
Yeah, and minutes, he's going to have some ups and downs. I mean, he's going to have some games where he just doesn't produce that much. We know freshmen do that. So, yeah, I'm going under on that one as well.
Yeah, this was a mediocre line set by Jay.
That is a pretty mediocre line. That's true.
Yeah. So.
Okay, Rob Finney, 4 assists per game, over or under. He averaged 2.9 assists per game last season, although, as we've said many times, pre-concussion, he was up over 4 assists per game. And for context, Yogi averaged 3.9 assists his sophomore season. Coach, are you going over under 4 assists per game for Rob?
Man, I love Rob, and I would love to see it over 4, and I think he can. That's a great line, actually. I'm going to say a little bit under. But, with the ball moving and the ball popping and less isolation plays and that, there might be more opportunities for assists on made baskets for Indiana. And he's a pretty good post feeder, but I'm going to say slightly under.
The only wild card here is his health early in the season. Like if he plays, not as many minutes, if he's as tentative as he was in the exhibition game, but once he gets back to full strength and kind of full wind, I absolutely think over. So I'm going over on this one.
I'm going under. I think that I think he's going to get a lot of hockey assists this year. If there were hockey assists, I think that this will be way over because I think he's going to do a lot of passing on the perimeter and finding guys on the perimeter who can then dump it into the post. I know he's good at dumping into the post, but I'm going to go under just slightly. I think he's probably going to hit that Yogi number around there, about 3.9, between like 3.5 and 3.9. I don't think he's going to be over 4.
Okay, let's hit these next few rapid fire. Justin Smith, 3.5 free throw attempts per game. Over or under, he averaged 2 free throw attempts per game last season.
Under.
Ryan, you're going under. Coach, what are you saying?
Over.
I'm going under. I mean, it's a great sign for Indiana if it's over, but
Yeah,
I kind of want to say, and there will be games where he will,
Yes.
but it's the consistency of it. So I'm gonna go slightly under, but that's definitely one I hope I'm wrong on. Armand Franklin, 14 minutes per game, over or under. 6 guys averaged more than 14 minutes per game last season, and 2 were just under 14 minutes per game. And we know about Indiana's depth in the backcourt. Ryan, Armand
Under.
Franklin, under. Coach?
Over.
Yeah, I think that the two.
It's a hard number.
The two, that's a tough number because this 2 starting guards going to play a lot if they're healthy, and I'm assuming health here.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You can't just assume health. I mean, that's the thing. I think he's good enough, and I think there will be nicks and dings. I think he's going to end up playing more than that. Well, and I think they love his defense too, and that's going to get him on the court.
I was going to say that real quick. What I've seen is he's been quick to get to a level as a freshman that reminds me a little bit of Rob. Not as good. It's carved out a little bit of that, 6, 7, 8 minutes, a half. That's going to be a close number, but I think he goes over.
Jay said in the chat, I really hit my stride with these last few numbers.
Yes.
You did. These were stiff numbers. Okay, and finally, over under 18.5 regular season wins for IU this season does not include the Big Ten tournament. Which just as well because we never win in the Big Ten tournament anymore.
That makes no difference.
the line no, but it's 17.5 and has been bet up to 18.5 where it sits current.
Over for sure.
Over.
I'm going over too.
Over, or I'm going to be miserable in like February. So.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think a lot of it is going to hinge on health, but I'm going to trust him. I'm going to say over. I think this team gets to 20-plus wins. All right, that was fun. Jay, really good questions. That was a much better than mediocre question that you put in. Took you a lot of time, so we appreciate it.
Would you say it was better than advertised, Jerod?
I didn't, but we could. We'll go with better than advertised. That's a callback. Look at that. Look at that book. Buy it on Amazon. Better than advertised. The story of the 2016 Indiana Hoosiers. All right. Coming up in our third and final segment, we're going to answer your questions, including one about what scares us the most about this upcoming season, where the blame should fall for Indiana's continuous string of injuries, and then several other Halloween-themed questions. See how many we can get to. Stick with us on the Assembly Call. That was good stuff, Jay. Thanks for sending that in. That made for a fun, last week of the off-season topic. So that was good. Franklin minutes, I went over. I ended up going over. That is a really hard one.
That was a hard one.
14
if it was 12, I would have gone over.
Yeah, 14 is hard because that's a lot of damn minutes.
I just think there are going to be games where Devontae and Rob play 35, so...
Don't be surprised to see him at the 3 as a third guard if they're having trouble guarding on the perimeter.
Yeah.
That he slides in and gets a couple minutes there, just maybe inside game or maybe as a scouting plan for an entire game. If you asked this a month ago, I think everyone would have said under and maybe even under 10 minutes a game.
Yeah.
I just think this he stepped up when the opportunity was there, kind of like Rob did when Devontae was hurt last year.
Well, and that's the thing. And I mean, this is clearly leads into the answer to the first question that we're going to have in the next segment, but we're thin at guard and all 3 of those guys have dealt with injuries, and not that they're like injuries that are their fault. Like Rob can't, control a concussion, and Devontae's have been like hamstrings. What was was it an ankle at the beginning of last season when he was out?
Who we talking?
Devontae at the beginning of the year when Rob overtook him. Was it an ankle? I don't remember. It was something, and Al's, and a lot of times they tough through the injuries, but I just think there's going to be some games that Armand's going to have to probably play 25, 30 minutes because the guy's out and we just don't have depth at that position. So I would not have said that a week ago. So it could be somewhat prisoner of the moment where he's, played a ton of minutes in these 2 games, but he seems like he's ready and he's probably going to have the opportunity. So, because, I think you're right, Coach. Like, I think if Archie's kind of looking down the bench and the choice is, okay, am I going to play Armand or Demizi at the 3? Like, I think Armand's going to be the guy that's going to get the nod because you probably just trust him a little bit more,
When I was just looking through clips for the coach's corner thing, I found a couple mistakes of Armand's, but again, he was aware. And that awareness is key. The interesting thing, and Jay mentioned it in the chat too, is we have not seen yet when they go small. With Al playing the 3 or Franklin playing the 3. And I know that
Justin at the 4 and
Justin at the 4 or Jerome at the 4. Well, that's just a log jam of bigs though. Big minutes. If they do that, is someone going to lose out? Who knows? But I just think Armand is physically and mentally ready, faster than I thought he would be.
I mean, look, he's a guy we were high on as a recruit and really liked his competitiveness, loved his defense. That's going to get you on the floor for Archie. So we were really high on him when we did our, scouting report of him. So, and he was a guy who the one thing he needed to clear up, just like Rob, was his shot. And I think it looks much better than it did. So, yeah, he's certainly a guy who can earn his way on the field. And he looks built for college basketball. He doesn't look wispy like a lot of freshman guards who come in. He looks built. And he looks like he's, athletic and, aggressive and knows what he's doing. So, but again, that could have been the competition. He could have felt, confident against the competition. We'll see once the bullets start flying for real, how he performs. But yeah, I like what I've seen so far.
It was a deep thigh bruise for Devontae at the beginning of last year. John asked, am I in costume as a 1950s PI or a poor man's Magnum PI? I don't have the Detroit Tigers hat.
I thought it was Magnum PI.
Yeah, no, it's not Tom Selleck. The problem is like my mustache and hair darker than David Harbour's. So, but this is the Jim Hopper shirt. I kind of figured Jim Hopper, he takes care of 11. I'm the president of the Devontae Green fan club. I've taken care of 11 this offseason. No. Okay, that's actually not true. I thought about that today. I just happened to see this at the costume store when I took my daughter there to buy costumes. And I was like, oh, I could do that.
All right. Enough of that. Let's move on. Answer some questions. How much time do we have?
It also gives me an excuse to play this, which is just a theme song that I love. We have about 6.5 minutes for this.
Let's do it.
We can answer the rest of the questions on a little AC After Dark. Okay, so enough of that. All right, here we go.
This is Ethan Happ, and I never listen to the assembly call, especially the episodes that Ryan is on.
Thanks, Ethan. Welcome back to the Assembly Call. I'm Jerod Morris here with Ryan Phillips and Coach Brian Tonsoni. Brian, maybe next year you go as Ethan Happ for Halloween. Or maybe you go as an official that calls a travel on Ethan Happ. It's like a real, like a... You'd have to explain that to people. But.
With as critical as I am of referees, if I put on a referee shirt at this point, it's bound to just burst into flames. So...
remember that you need to be subscribed to our email newsletter. We send out a weekly IU news roundup, even during the off season. And after every game, we send out a detailed post-game analysis. Text IU to 66866 or go to assemblycall.com. That's IU to 66866 or go to assemblycall.com. All right, guys, mailbag time. All these questions submitted via our private IU basketball discussion community at assemblycall.com/community. First one is from Bill. What scares you the most about the upcoming season? Coach?
Oh, Jerod, you muted yourself.
I did.
Halfway through the question.
Okay. Oh, halfway. Sorry, Coach. Why don't you go?
I'm nervous, as you guys saw for me when the injury kind of talk come out about the guards. I just don't think we have the depth at the guard position to withstand injuries. And even though our advantage is in the post guard depth, and the game's a guards game, and you need guards, so. I guess that scares me the most. Other than that, I've been pretty pleased.
Yeah, it's guard health is number 1, 2, and 3 for me, I think, and just the development of the outside shooting, I think, because you can always, when things are going bad, if you can knock down shots, it tends to make things go a little better. And so, as we talked about with the effective field goal percentage, you hit a couple threes and your effective field goal percentage shoots way up because of the adjusted nature of the stat. So I would say that it would be guard health and just 3-point shooting. It's got to be better than last year.
Yeah, agreed. That was my answer too. Okay, from David, what will likely be the most difficult aspect of IU's defense for Armand and Trace to master? How long will that learning curve take? For them to kind of get up to speed, do you think, Coach?
There's a lot about defense at the next level that's different than high school, but I think
actually playing it.
Yeah, that's the big key is getting in a system. But I think guarding the ball, knowing how to guard your yard, the term that's used to angle people away from the basket. There's so many athletes in the game now that can handle the ball with good speed and go downhill. I think that's really tough, especially for Trace if he's guarding out on the perimeter. And then the ball screen, how to guard appropriately at the ball screen, whether you're going under, you're going over. Those things are difficult for people who guard perimeters.
Ryan, I'm going to throw this question to you first. This is from Richard. With all the injuries last year and so far this year, should we question the tactics of the training staff?
I think that's fair. If it's an issue ongoing this year, look, preseason injuries happen. They happen every year to every team, I think, in some shape or form. I mean, look, if an injury had happened to a big guy and not one of our guards, I don't think anybody would be thinking twice because we have depth there. If a guy like Race Thompson had a sprained ankle or something, it wouldn't be that big a deal because you've got so many other guys who can go in and step in for them. The fact that it's happening at the guard position, is concerning because of the lack of depth here. I would wait a couple weeks before you start getting the torches and pitchforks out. But it's fair to ask, are they going too hard in practice? Are they, maybe in the weight room, maybe doing a little too much? Do they need to back off guys? Maybe give them one day where it's a walkthrough day or something like that. If injuries keep happening and keep coming up, you have to start looking at yourself and asking why. Now, we had a bad year last year and that happens. So I would wait
and some fluky injuries.
And I would wait a few weeks before sort of freaking out in this season. Now, if we're in December and it's a litany of injuries like last year, it's fair to ask what's going on, what's causing this, how are these happening, where are these happening, when are these happening? It's fair to start looking into that. But right now, I wouldn't be that freaking out about it that much. Season hasn't even started yet. We could see Devontae and everybody healthy for the opener. We don't know yet. So let's see.
Coach, what do you think about that?
I think there's professionals and the trainers on every staff are, there's people being held out of exhibitions all across the country. You get natural bumps and bruises. I think we jump to a conclusion that it's the training because it's happened a lot in a short amount of time.
Well, it's easy to blame too.
Yeah. And I'm just as guilty of that. But as a coach, we have changed some of the way we do things, charge drills and things like that, because at the high school level, there's a couple key dudes you can't get hurt on but then you balance that with how do you get toughness in your program? If you're not diving on the floor or taking charges in practice, how are you going to do that in the game? That is a fine line to handle in injury prevention for coaches. And I don't know that it's an easy solution.
All right. Last question. Let's go with this one. Ryan, this is from Michael. What Halloween costume from your youth are you most proud of?
I don't even remember a lot of my Halloween costumes. I was thinking about this as I saw them. I don't even remember a lot of mine. And I figured when I was reading, I was like, oh yeah. And then I thought about it. I went as an Ewok one year when I was really young. I thought that was good. My sister did Princess Leia and I was an Ewok. I think that was probably my best one.
That's good. Coach, we got about 10 seconds left. What's the one that you're
my
most
youth
proud
was
of?
so long ago that it's left my memory.
You can't remember any of them?
No, I don't even know if I had a youth.
Okay. That's a good note
That's
to
it.
end on.
We're done. No more questions.
All right. That's going to do it for us on this week's episode of the Assembly Call. If you want to see us do the show live, join us at assemblycall.com on Thursday nights for the live broadcast of our Assembly Call radio recording. And don't forget to go to assemblycall.com or text IU to 66866 to join our free email newsletter. Special thanks to Bob Thompson, as always, for producing most of the music. that you hear on the show, and thank you for listening. We will talk to you again next Thursday night. Actually, we'll talk to you on Tuesday night for the first game of the year. Until then.
Take it from me, James Blackman Jr. Keep your elbows in, eyes on the rim, and get buckets. Go Hoosiers.
Thank everybody for coming out.
All right, I got to get out of here, folks. Thank you.
I have a mad crush on Coach Roberts.
Mine is 1 year. You guys remember Rob Turner, who led Indiana to the 1988 Liberty Bowl win?
I know that name, but
I mean, there's been lots of guys named Rob Turner, but he was the wide receiver for Indiana in '88. So I would always go for Halloween. I would just go like to the IU football equipment room and like get pads and pants and a jersey. And the one I remember most is the number 25 jersey, which I'm pretty sure was Rob Turner's jersey. Or maybe that was Lance Brown. I went as Lance Brown once. Turner, I think Lance Brown was 25 too. So he was always one of my favorite players because he was my dad's player, defensive back. Lance Brown was a great player. Played with the Steelers for a while. We have a couple other questions real quick. Ryan, do you have a few moments?
Sure.
Okay, let's hit a couple of these other ones really quick. Okay.
I didn't say it on the show, but Chad reminded there's a replay tomorrow on Big Ten Network of the Gannon. If you want
are they actually playing it? Because they said they weren't going to. Nice.
Chad said something in here. I don't know
what they say because they want everybody to sign up.
Make sure to mention that the game is being replayed on Big Ten Network Friday at 9 a.m. I believe that's probably 9 a.m. Eastern. So if you want to go DVR that. Sorry to interrupt, but
cool. No, that's good.
No, that's good. Good info.
That is good. Okay,
IU Soccer is playing for the Big Ten title at some point too this weekend, so support them. It's Sunday, Michigan State. I don't know, 3 p.m. Eastern. Go find it on Big Ten Network.
Nice. Okay, from Jeff, what IU player, past or present, will you dress up as for Halloween? I've got a good one.
You know, it would be a funny one. Really funny one that you should do, Jerod, because of your Twitter activity. Dan Dockich would be a funny one.
God.
No, that is dumbass.
Wear a number 11 jersey and then just a donkey's head. Be a jackass. Come on, that's good.
San Diego chicken.
What?
I'm gonna.
I don't know. Jordan Halls would be a good one. Cody Zeller would be a good one.
I'm gonna go with Ivan Renko.
Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna dress up as Ivan Renko. You got a lot of freedom to kind of make that costume up.
Yeah.
You know,
that would be funny. What about you, Coach? Who are you dressing up as?
I'd either want to be Uwe Blob, just because, or Brian Sloan, so I could just go out and jump into people and screen them hard and knock people down. Like, you know how people used to dunk on people in on the street? You could just go in and screen people, you know, on Halloween.
What is this guy doing running in? It's okay. He's Brian Sloan.
He's Brian Sloan. Screen
that's what
45.
He does. Oh, okay.
That's what he does.
I like that. Okay, so here's kind of a serious question from Scott. And Ryan, this will give us a chance real quick here to maybe clear up some misconceptions. Scott says the NCAA announced they'll have a program in place for players profiting on name and likeness. I see no possible way the NCAA can control this all. I believe that they will do is screw it up. Example being Duke will get away with murder while Seton Hall or Iowa will have a microscope up their rear end. That's actually kind of an accurate description of how college basketball works. Well, but Bruce says, what is going to stop a Kentucky booster with a car dealership to offer $500,000 to a kid to shoot a commercial? This is going to be a disaster. So first, let's clear up what the NCAA actually said.
Yeah, they didn't approve anything, guys.
Yeah.
It was basically a symbolic vote to say they would explore sort of looking into, and they also said to do it in a way that's consistent with a collegiate model. Well, if you're consistent with a current collegiate model, you're not going to let kids get anything. So, yeah, I mean, while that was a symbolic vote in the right direction, it wasn't really much. There was no substance to it. So let's wait before we start praising the NCAA for doing the right thing or whatever. The NCAA is going to be backed into a corner because not only did California pass something, but a bunch of other states are starting to pass, are already advancing bills to say the same thing, that athletes can go ahead and benefit from their name, you know, image and likeness. So to answer Bruce's question, I think that he's right, that boosters could pay kids money. One, That's the boosters' money. I don't really care what they do with it, and they're probably already paying people anyway. So if it's out in the open, that would be better than the situation is now. That's one. Two, I would say that maybe the NCAA makes a rule that says you can't get money from a booster. You can only get money from a brand that is not associated with the school in any way. I think that's a fair way to do it, to say that, you can get paid by a Nike or an Adidas or a, whatever that is not. If you go to Oregon, though, guess what? Phil Knight's a booster. You can't sign a Nike deal if you go to Oregon. If you want to go to college and sign a Nike deal, you're going to have to go somewhere else. As long as the kids know what they're signing up for when they get in, they can't really complain about it. If that rule is in place and then you go to Oregon and say, well, I can't sign a Nike deal. Why not? Well, you knew the rules when you entered into this deal to go to Nike. So that's one way to do it. I don't know if that's going to be the way they pick it. I'm not suggesting that's the great way to do it. Some people have said, well, if a booster wants to pay that much to a player for their image, and they, here's the thing. If a booster is shooting a commercial for a car dealership and he pays a kid inordinately too much money, that kind of falls on the booster, because you can justify that by saying, well, I'm going to make this much money back in commercial sales from this commercial. I'm going to sell more cars because of this kid, and therefore it evens out for me, so it's a worthwhile expense. But if they're willing to throw around their money at a very small group of players, fine. Getting the highest ranked recruit isn't always the way you win in major conferences, in major college athletics these days.
And they, for the most part, already do. It's not like they're going to get 20 extra scholarships. Like they still can only fill so many of them.
Kentucky can only sign, what is it, a total of like 13 scholarships? Is it 12 scholarship or 13? I don't even remember the number anymore.
Or 11 if you just want to, hold two open.
So you can only have a certain amount of scholarship players anyway. So if you're willing to pay $1 million, if you're a booster, you're willing to hand out $1 million to all 12 of those players, guess what? They're all probably going to be on campus for about a year or two. You're not going to get that much return on your investment. That's bad business. If you're doing it from a business perspective.
Plus, by the time this comes in, guys will be able to go straight to the NBA anyway. So you won't even be getting the top of the top guys.
So I get the concerns. I absolutely get the concerns that, certain, schools are going to be big winners in all this. Well, guess what? All the 5-star guys already go to Kentucky, Duke, and UNC and Kansas anyway. So it's not going to change anything. It's really not going to alter anything. Alabama, Clemson, and whatever other, Oklahoma or whoever else, already get all the top football prospects. So it's really not going to change much. What it does, though, is it allows these kids, many of whom come from, at best, middle class upbringings, to make some money off of the things that other people are making money off of. So here's
a couple things that I want to ask. One, two, if the market was 500,000, they'd be getting it from shoe people right now.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is they're already getting money.
And the thing is, it's coming from people who support the university instead of people who are making profit off of shoes. I don't know that I like either one as a traditional old person, but I'd rather have a person affiliated with the university supporting their university by paying money than some outside force. The only reason they're doing this is to get a future client. That's one thing. And I saw this on Twitter today, and I don't know who to credit it to, so it's not my own. But it could benefit schools by kids staying earlier instead of going to the draft and then ending up in the G League to get some money or do. And someone referenced the young guy at the Shumo or whatever at Illinois, that if you can make some money while you're in college, you might stay at Illinois and finish your degree and make some money on the side. If you make 50 to 100,000 or something like that in advertisements, that's something I never thought about. And I don't know that I want boosters not to, because Tim Priller could have had a lucrative career slinging Mother Bear's pizzas or whatever else, and from the boosters there. And why not?
Yogis at Yogis.
I've changed so much on this, but
here's the thing.
Let me say one thing real quick, because I think one other consequence of this that I think will be really good is think about where the money would go, right? Like take Anthony Leal. If Anthony Leal had gone to Stanford, is he going to get a whole lot of endorsements in Palo Alto? No. He's going to get endorsements locally where people know him. And so I think what you would start to see is more guys staying local and going to college closer to home, because they would have more opportunities like that. And I think college sports are better when you have more guys staying home, playing for the home state school. So I think that's also something else that would.
And I think I agree that that'll happen at the lower levels of recruiting. I don't think it's going to happen with the 5-star guys are always going to go.
No, but 5 stars are different. Exactly. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a guy at Anthony Leal's level.
Different breed. And what I will say is that these kids have been. I love when people come at me and say they're getting $60,000 a year in education. Well, the education only costs that much because that's the price the university sets on it. Okay. University is not handing these people a $60,000 check. 30-something thousand of that is free to the university. It's a spot in a classroom at a desk. The things that materially cost the university money are paying for their food, books, and then technically putting them up in an apartment where they could be getting that much, getting rent or whatever from somebody else. That's all it costs the university. So 30,000 of that 60,000 is a made up number by the university that is basically what it costs to have somebody sitting at a desk in class. Okay. That could cost $5. There are some schools in this country you can go to where it costs $5 a unit, and there's somewhere it costs $1,000 a unit or whatever. I mean, it's a ridiculous system. So saying that the university is already paying this much money for these people, not paying that much. It's a fabricated number that universities are coming up with, and it's growing exponentially because universities knows they can get away with it because people have to go to college. So I, absolutely understand that the universities are giving these kids an education, and that is certainly valuable. But it wasn't valuable to somebody like Zion Williamson. Zion Williamson could have gone professional out of college basketball. Now he can go to Duke later on, but if he goes and makes millions in the NBA, he's gonna be able to go to Duke if he wants he would have been able to go to Duke or Harvard or wherever else he wanted to later on. I just think that we need to understand that education in this country is not what it was 30 years ago, where if you work and scrape hard, you can, pay your way through college and all that stuff. It's a different situation these days. And so I think that saying you're getting, let's say it's $30,000 a year, you're getting $120,000 from the university. No, you're not. You're getting a value based on what the university says is $120,000. So these kids are getting a valuable service, which is education. But at the same time, the university is making far more off of them than they are giving up in their education. And I think that these kids are valuable. They make millions and taken as a collective, billions of dollars for other people, and get to have their name and likeness. All right. Good night, folks. You wanted me to answer the question.
No, sorry, that was poor form by me. It was a good answer.
But it's just one of those things where these kids, if they're able to make money off their name and likeness, why would we stand in the way? And, I don't get it because other people are allowed to use their name, use their likeness, use their image and make tons of money. But these kids can't because of some stupid rule that the NCAA cooked up and some stupid idea of amateurism. And they have to go behind the scenes to make the money that is probably rightfully theirs from people. And then when they get caught, they get blacklisted and banned. It's ridiculous to me.
I agree with you. Coach agrees. Even with his,
I've just changed because I don't know that it's
honestly.
I don't know that it's going to be hundreds and thousands of dollars, and it's probably been done in the past. And if the NCAA puts too many rules, then you're back to a thick book of regulations that they're only going to nitpick on the schools they want to catch and look the other way on the schools that they don't. And I just think, and maybe it's not just basketball players, but maybe, if $100 or $200 gets thrown at a soccer player for an advertisement or something, I don't know that that's really all that bad. And these athletes put in time. And then they put in time on top of that, their 20-hour rule, but then they study film and they do things on their own. And so that's the difference between my son attending Indiana State and IU as a regular student. There's some benefits that I think they need to get. And I don't know that I would have said this a year or two ago. But I've just tried to be open-minded about it. And the thing that gets me is the millions of dollars that come in from Big Ten Network and the shoe deals and the Adidas deals for schools and the gear stuff that happens, and people are making lots of money
off
of what these young kids are doing, and I think they're just going to get a small sliver of it.
Well, and it's essentially a full-time job. Being a, you know, people say like, well, they're just normal students, and that bastardizes being normal students. They're nothing like normal students. If you knew any athletes in school, they are nothing like normal students. They work pretty much a 20-hour day if you include classes every day. And it's pretty ridiculous. And
they get some perks, but they have a lot of pressures. You know,
exactly.
Like it goes both
They're
ways.
Essentially university employees. That's what they essentially are, and they don't get paid like it.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say about this, it's important to like make sure this is framed the right way. This is not universities like writing checks to players for extra money. It's just getting the hell out of the way so they can get the money that they could go get on their own. Like stop legislating that these guys can't go make money that they could get because someone's going to pay them. Just get out of the way and let them go do their thing
on
over
their
here.
own.
Yeah. All right.
So,
well, we're all in agreement on this.
Yeah, I think so.
That was good stuff. Okay. Very last question. Favorite Halloween candy? It was asked. It was on the list.
Reese's.
Yeah, Reese's. If it's chocolate, it's going into my, bag at the shopping.
Can't be chocolate and peanut butter. Can't be chocolate and peanut butter.
I thought that was going to go somewhere else, and it would have been a great drop. But
what about you, Jim Hopper? What's your favorite Halloween candy?
I
like Starburst too. I love Starburst.
Yeah, I do like Starburst, but probably if I could only do one, I think I'd go with a Snickers.
Snickers is great. Snickers is a classic.
It's just
that's why
it's
you're
just solid.
That's why you're never grumpy. You eat Snickers
That's
all
right.
the time. You don't wait till you're hangry. You just eat them all the time, and you get a positive vibe from eating Snickers.
That's right. All right. This was fun. Thanks for being here tonight, guys. Thanks everybody for doing it an hour later. That was much appreciated. Tuesday night, IU Western Illinois. Are you guys available for that one? I'll be here.
I should be. Yeah.
Okay.
I am hated.
Okay. Well, hopefully you're still recovering from Saturday night. All that tailgating, big victory.
Dude, it takes me 48 hours these days to recover.
Yeah.
You wait, you guys, you young bucks here. You still have some recovery. You can have quick recovery, man. When you get over 50, it's hard.
I felt like I've over 50 since I was 27. So
my goodness.
I'm already noticing that the recovery takes longer.
It doesn't stop me from doing it though, because maybe I'm just dumb, but I don't know.
Let's go in. Do we have a good feeling about Saturday? I do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Look, if Northwestern's offense scores more than 17 points, there's a problem. It's a real serious problem.
Yeah.
They're a bad team.
Is Penix going to play?
I don't know.
Anybody know?
I haven't heard.
I haven't heard.
We'll probably find out by tomorrow, I'd assume, if not tonight.
Final words of wisdom from Jay to close on. If you don't stop drinking, you can't get hungover.
That's true. I mean, that was kind of my philosophy for a couple of years in college. It was just keep it going.
And while you lived in Milwaukee.
No, Milwaukee, I would definitely just hate life the next day. I was at that point I was too old for the constant stream. It's like Sterling Archer says, it's like, I think if I stopped drinking, the cumulative hangover would literally kill me.
All right, everybody. We will talk to you Tuesday night after IU Western Illinois. Hopefully we have some guards ready to play that night.
Yeah. Later, guys.
See y'all.
See you guys.